And I want to get to the bottom of something with Ben Lindsay from Pro Football Focus. I want to find out why PFF has it out for Cam Robinson. Cam Robinson's analytic grade on PFF is just simply not very good. I want to find out why. That is one of many things we're going to talk about with Ben Lindsay of Pro Football Focus coming up at about 9:15. Coming up 9:30, Brent Beard will join me to wrap up what was a crazy week of news in the world of college football. Of course, SEC Media Days in the book, the ACC kickoff in the book. That was all I had planned. I mean, that's a lot, but that's what we had. And then a couple hours ago, huge news in the world of sports entertainment as Vince McMahon has announced his retirement from the WWE. We're scheduled to have Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer and Sports Illustrated, coming up at 8:20 to kind of talk about what that means moving forward for the WWE as Vince McMahon at 77 years of age announcing his retirement today. Obviously, there's some things surrounding Vince McMahon right now that are not good as far as allegations and whatnot, but a huge day in the world of sports entertainment. We'll get there again in one moment because every night here on 1010XL, on Hacker After Dark, we give you a big deal of the night. Tonight is the rare occasion we have two big deals of the night, and Dylan Denmark, let's do it right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No big deal.
It is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
All right, so rewind the clock back 194 days. That was Sunday, January the 9th, when the Jacksonville Jaguars defeated the Indianapolis Colts to cap off a 3-14 season. 194 days ago. And now here we are on the doorstep of training camp 2022. Again, the Jaguars report on Sunday. The Jaguars are on the field for their first practice on Monday. All week long here on Hacker After Dark, we've talked about what were the biggest storylines of this offseason. And if you think back over the last 194 days, it started with the coaching search, the soap opera that was the Jaguar coaching search. It ended with the hiring of Doug Peterson, who, by the way, was the first guy they interviewed. You then got into free agency. I remember being out at the Players the second week of March, back when I was still on XL Primetime. And we were constantly refreshing, constantly calling people. Once that noon hour hit, what are the Jaguars going to do? And it was about 30 minutes in, Brandon Scherff, all-pro offensive lineman, agrees to terms with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I believe second was Foye Oluokun, leading tackler in the NFL, agrees to terms with the Jacksonville Jaguars. About an hour later, Foley Fatukasi from the New York Jets. Then you had Christian Kirk, and that was all in the first 3 hours of free agency. Think about that. Brandon Scherff, Foye Oluokun, Fatukasi, and Kirk all agreed with Jacksonville in the first 3 hours of free agency. And then I remember going home that afternoon, and then you got the word about Zay Jones. That night you got the word about Evan Ingram. And I believe it was the next day or a couple of days later, you got the word about Darius Williams. That was a free agent haul. Absolutely no question about it. And then you fast forward to the draft, right? What are the Jaguars going to do? Is it going to be Evan Neal? Is it going to be Aiden Hutchinson? Are they really going to take Travon Walker? All the talk, all the speculation. And, of course, they pull the trigger on Travon Walker with the number one pick in the draft. They then move back into the first round to get Devin Lloyd. All the changes that have gone on have been incredible. Something else to keep in mind, 194 days ago, right? DJ Chark was still a Jaguar. Brandon Linder, A.J. Cann, Andrew Norwell, Taven Bryan were all still Jaguars. Miles Jack was still a Jaguar. We've spent so much time on the guys that came in A lot of guys left. And look, there was not a lot of winning with those guys other than Brandon Linder and Miles Jack. They were the two guys that were on the AFC Championship game team in 2017. But nevertheless, a lot of guys that played a lot of football for the Jaguars are no longer here. When you consider Andrew Norwell and DJ Chark, A.J. Cann, Taven Bryan, just to name a few. And then you got into OTAs, and you began to figure out pretty quick, boy, Travon Walker looks the part, man. Devin Lloyd looks the part. And then you got to the veterans showing up, and you see Travis Etienne out there looking 100% after the Liz Frank injury. You see Jamal Agnew coming back from the hip looking pretty good. Laviska Shenault looks like he has improved his game. And all this that has happened in the last 194 days has added up to where we are now. On the doorstep of training camp. Inside of 2 weeks before the trip to Canton to the Hall of Fame game against the Las Vegas Raiders. All of the questions. Did they overspend on Christian Kirk? Is Travis Etienne healthy? What about Travon Walker? What kind of impact will Devin Lloyd have? Who's going to win the right tackle battle between Walker Little and Jawan Taylor? Is there a battle at center between Tyler Shatley and Luke Fortner? Is Cam Robinson the left tackle that this team hopes he will be? All the questions that we've posed to you, the men and women of Jacksonville, the Jaguar fans in our area, we will start getting some answers in the very near future. We will start finding things out in the very near future. And I'm very, very excited about that. I'm going to be down there on Monday for the first practice of Jaguar training camp. Look forward to that, and look forward to talking with you next Monday evening on Hacker After Dark. Again, Emory Hunt, CBS Sports, Ben Lindsay, Pro Football Focus. We will talk much more Jacksonville Jaguars coming up here in the next hour or so. Big piece of news today as well with the retirement of Vince McMahon at the age of 77. And no matter what you think of professional wrestling, it's fake, it's a soap opera, this, that, and the other. It's fine. Whatever you believe professional wrestling to be, I'm willing to bet you know who Vince McMahon is. Because that guy took a sport or a sports entertainment entity, whatever you want to refer to it as, that was taking place in, some parts of the country in 500 or 1,000 seat gymnasiums that was spread out into 15 to 20 different territories all over the country. And Vince McMahon, back in the early to mid 80s, turned all of that into the WWF at the time. Now the WWE. Vince McMahon established WrestleMania. Vince McMahon has sold out the Meadowlands in New York, has sold out Jerry's World in Dallas. 93,000 in the Pontiac Silverdome to see Hulk Hogan against Andre the Giant. I was thinking about this on the way in. If you want to know what Vince McMahon means to sports or to sports entertainment, again, however you want to refer to it, go to the town center right now or go to Jacksonville Beach right now and ask 100 strangers, 100 random people you've never met in your life. Ask them who Patrick Mahomes is. Then ask them who Kevin Durant is. Then ask them who Mike Trout is, right? NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, we got them all covered. Then ask them who Hulk Hogan is. And I'm willing to bet you that you're going to get more people that know who Hulk Hogan is than those other three. Just amazing what he did with the sports entertainment entity that is professional wrestling. Look right here in Jacksonville. Tony Khan, AEW, what they're doing They're doing that because of Vince McMahon. Think back to what Ted Turner did for 6-7 years in WCW. He was able to do that because of Vince McMahon. And quite frankly, Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff almost put Vince McMahon out of business in the mid-90s. It was cutthroat, man. Those Monday Night Wars were legit. They were out to end Vince McMahon's career. And Vince McMahon overcame that, ended up buying up his competition. Isn't that something that's amazing. A company that's beating you, you then begin beating them, you then begin pummeling them into the ground, so much so that they sell out to you. Vince McMahon beat WCW so bad that he was able to buy them and do whatever he wanted to with their properties. And Vince McMahon has had some legal trouble in the past. There's a lot of rumors now as to why he is retiring so suddenly at the age of 77. There's a lot of allegations out there from some former female employees. So there's certainly things that are in the winds surrounding this announcement today. But it's a huge deal when a guy that turned professional wrestling into a billion-dollar entity. You want to know what WrestleMania has become? I went to 10 of them. I'll tell you what it's become. Cities bid on that about to the extent they bid on the Super Bowl, believe it or not. Why do you think these gigantic football stadiums and these gigantic cities host WrestleMania every year? There's a bidding process for it. Why is there a bidding process? Because those cities know WrestleMania is going to bring in excess of 100,000 fans from all over the country, from all over the world. The last WrestleMania I went to was in New York in 2019. They had tickets bought from all 50 states and from 26 different countries. Think about that. All 50 states and 26 different countries were part of the 80,000 in MetLife Stadium for WrestleMania the last time I went to one in 2019. That's all because of Vince McMahon, who announced his retirement on social media earlier today. And by the way, by all rumors and speculation, this is not a professional wrestling gimmick or anything along those lines. This is legit. He is retiring and handing things over to his daughter, Stephanie McMahon. More on that. We hope to catch up with Brian Alvarez of Sports Illustrated and Wrestling Observer. More on the National Football League, some college football as well. We got a lot to do, Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. It's a Friday night here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. It's Hacker After Dark, and we are glad you are with us.
It's Friday, I heard that.
Jaguars beat reporter Hayes Carline.
Oh, well, he's very popular.
Weekday afternoons on The Frangie Show
They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
on 1010XL.
You sounded like Dirty Harry just then.
92.5 FM.
Mia O'Brien here. Have you seen the duck around town? No, not just any duck. I'm talking about Duck Duck Rooter. In just 3 years, they've grown into one of the largest plumbing and septic companies in Florida. And their hardworking team is based right here in Jacksonville, FLA. From septic tank pump outs, septic inspections, drain field installations, sump pump repair, they do it all. And they are the only master septic contractor on the First Coast. So when you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769.
Honestly, this is one of the best jobs I've had.
Drivers and mechanics, listen up. Waste Management is now offering a $5,000 new hire bonus to CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics for job opportunities at our sites in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine.
There's so much more to Waste Management than what you think it is.
Waste Management offers steady work, competitive pay, weekly paychecks, opportunities for overtime, paid training, and a generous food and tool allowance.
Plus industry-leading benefits, like 100% tuition coverage for you and your family, and your home every day.
The benefits were great. They're the best I've seen in a long time.
CDL drivers and heavy truck mechanics apply online today at WM.com/careers. That's WM.com/careers. Search driver and mechanic jobs in Jacksonville, Green Cove Springs, Callahan, and St. Augustine, Florida.
A people-first, military-friendly, equal opportunity employer.
We are WM.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Registration is now open for the Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament. Over $250,000 in cash and prizes available, with payouts up to 20 places. Of course, there's awesome prizes for lady anglers, and bring along your junior anglers as well. Anyone can get in on the fun this year. Register today at kingfishtournament.com. Even if you're not in the water, spectators will enjoy exhibits, food, kids' activities, and a fireworks display. See you at the Greater Jacksonville Kingfish Tournament.
Tailgaters Parking presents The Henpecked Husband.
Hey, do you know what time it is?
Time for what, dear?
Time to go buy our season parking at Tailgaters Parking again.
Oh, yeah, of course, dear.
You know, we don't even have to go to the game because we can tailgate all game long right in the Tailgaters parking lot.
I guess so, dear.
Tailgaters is the best place to tailgate for every game.
I know, dear.
They've got a covered pavilion, assigned spaces, clean restrooms, a full bar and restaurant.
Yes, dear.
And they're right across the street from the stadium.
Yes, dear.
TailgatersParking.com.
Thinking about a graduate degree? Consider Webster University. Enrolling now for MBA degrees with several areas of emphasis to fit your career goals. Earn your degree completely online or in person one night each week at the local campus. Webster University is a military-friendly, nonprofit university. They accept VA benefits, employer tuition assistance, and financial aid. You've waited long enough. Apply today at webster.edu. Webster University, an accredited degree that fits your lifestyle.
Hi everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play fantasy football. Draft your team with no in-season management, get the optimal score from your team each week of the season, and have a shot at over $10 million in total prize money in Underdog's Best Ball Mania 3 contest. Head to UnderdogFantasy.com or the App Store now, sign up with the promo code 1010XL, and Underdog is going to match your first deposit up to $100. Again, Underdog Fantasy, sign up with promo code 1010XL and draft your Best Ball Mania 3 team today.
Hey, this is Ken with Fifth Element Adjusting. Let my team and I ensure your insurance claim is settled properly. We even helped Jeff Prosser get his roof replaced in 2016.
Thank goodness I had Ken Lawler and his team help me navigate the claim process. They did everything for me, filed it, scheduled it, completed it, and established a settlement. I got my damaged property replaced and got back to my life.
So call Fifth Element Adjusting or visit FEAclaims.com. If you're happy with the outcome of your claim, Fifth Element Adjusting will not be able to help you. Ken Lawler, DFS number P213199.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coastal Equipment in Jacksonville and McClenny to reach your North Florida Kubota Superstore.
When they talk X's and O's, it's not hugs and kisses. It's football.
Helmets and heels.
Wow. I'm a little surprised.
Driven by Tire Outlet.
And presented by Underwood Jewelers. Tuesday nights at 6.
On 1010XL. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000.
No chance, so that's what you got. Up against a machine too strong. Pretty politicians buying souls for us.
Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Boy, it's a big night in the world of pro wrestling as Vince McMahon announces his retirement at the age of 77. Certainly caught me off guard, caught a lot of people off guard. Let's talk to Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer and Sports Illustrated. Before we do that, let's do this.
Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Brian, thank you for the time, man. I can only imagine how busy you are right now. Vince McMahon announcing his retirement. Your initial thoughts?
Well, you know, it was probably the biggest story in
I don't know if I could say all of wrestling history, but it's certainly one of the biggest. And if you look at the last 30 years, I mean, it's the retirement of Vince McMahon and the death of WCW. And the irony is that in both cases, nobody thought that WCW could ever possibly go out of business. And I don't think anybody thought that Vince McMahon could ever retire. And both of them have occurred.
You know, look, I never thought I would see the day that Vince McMahon would step away. And let's get something out of the way right now, because I've had a couple friends text me. This is not like a wrestling gimmick, right? I mean, this is a legit thing.
This is absolutely a legitimate thing. It is pro wrestling, so I suppose it's not impossible that he could unretire, but it is not a wrestling storyline. He is out, and it is all presumably, and I think it's a pretty good presumption, a result of the allegations of misconduct, $12 million paid over 16 years to 4 different women. There's been stories in the Wall Street Journal. There's another story likely coming out next week. A lot of pressure on Vince. The allegations are horrible. I mean, it was, I should say, it seems like it was inevitable that this would happen, but if you ask most people, they just presumed that he was going to just continue on like he always has, and it looks like this time he didn't.
Yeah, look, Brian Alvarez here with us, Wrestling Observer. You also get him on Sports Illustrated and many other outlets covering professional wrestling. I was stunned when I saw the tweet. Let's kind of begin with Vince McMahon himself, all right? Can you put into words what Vince McMahon has meant to the world of pro wrestling?
Well, whatever you want to say about Vince, he was the greatest wrestling promoter that ever lived. He was, at times, a pro wrestling genius. I do not believe that in the last, probably 15 years, you could really call him a pro wrestling genius. He is now 77 years old, and, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. In a lot of ways, the business has changed, and he was very much stuck in his ways, which actually kind of plays into all of those allegations. I mean, the wrestling business was a very seedy place for a long time. And, these are stories that have come to light. There are many, many, many more. Probably most will never come to light. And, he did more for pro wrestling than anybody. And at the same time, a lot of decisions that he made were not the best decisions. I mean, after WCW went under, he had a long string, and in particular the last 5 years or so, where because of the way that their business is structured and the amount of money they're paid for television deals, and the fact that even with a greatly dwindling audience, they're still often number one on cable, they were idiot-proof. They made so much money that he could be completely incompetent at his job, and they were still going to make money hand over fist. And I can't say that he was completely incompetent at his job, but if you're a regular viewer of WWE television and you watch it, with a eye to what works, what doesn't, getting over superstars, building to big matches, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he was not a genius. He was an old man who used to be great at this, who wasn't great anymore. But he was still Vince McMahon, and to the outside world, they saw him as the only guy that could successfully run pro wrestling, which he wasn't. But that was the way that they saw him. So what's interesting about the story is now that he's gone, what is Wall Street going to do? What is the stock price? Who is going to be in charge? Who is going to take over? There's so many questions. And really, the story has just begun.
It is a crazy situation as Vince McMahon at 77 years old announced his retirement. A couple of more for Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer. I imagine you're a very busy man, so we appreciate you taking time out for us here in Jacksonville on 1010XL. Brian, I made the point earlier, man. You go ask 100 random people who Patrick Mahomes is, who Kevin Durant is, who Mike Trout is, and then you ask them who Hulk Hogan is. You ask them who The Rock is. That's what Vince McMahon did. He made larger-than-life characters to whether you're a sports fan, not a sports fan. People know these guys and know the names more so than the most popular athletes going today.
Well, yeah, and I think really the number one name you mentioned is Hulk Hogan. I mean, even The Rock. You know, when you list those names, I think that most people, honestly, are going to know The Rock more for his Hollywood career. I mean, the one guy that Vince really absolutely 100% made a household name was Hulk Hogan. And, you know, one of the main reasons for that is, you know, wrestling was a huge thing in the 80s. And that Hulk Hogan-Andre the Giant match on the main event on NBC, 33 million people watched that match. And, you know, he was involved with the Rocky franchise and Mr. T and WrestleMania. I mean, he was a legitimate mainstream household name created by Vince McMahon. And he really is probably above and beyond everyone in terms of just purely because of pro wrestling. The Rock, I mean, huge name. Stone Cold Steve Austin, huge name. But Hogan eclipses all of them because of what happened in the 80s. And really from, you know, the Steve Austin Rock era forward, I mean, the only other name that he really made a household name was John Cena. And John Cena, also a lot of that is, you know, what he has done in the mainstream outside of WWE. But if you really look at the last 25 years, that's one of the reasons I mentioned that, you know, Vince at one point was absolutely without question a wrestling genius. But in the last 20 years, with the possible exception of Cena, he has not created really those mainstream names to that degree.
Well, he's certainly throwing Roman Reigns down our throat time and time again. I guess that's another one that certainly is in the conscience of people now with the deal with Fox. And that's another thing, Brian. I mean, he got the WWE on network television on a weekly basis. I mean, I'm watching SmackDown right now here in the studio. That's another unbelievable asset that Vince McMahon brought to the table.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no, whatever you want to say about his creative prowess and booking angles and storylines. I mean, yeah, they're on Fox, and they're on the USA Network. And, you know, they're often number one on cable. They're often number one in their time slot across all of television. I mean, fans like watching pro wrestling. And, you know, there are a lot of fans that are, I don't know how old you are, but I suspect we're about the same age. And they're going to want to watch pro wrestling until they die. And it's all because they grew up watching Vince McMahon's WWE. So, absolutely. I mean, I'm not trying to take away, you know, credit for everything that he created and everything that he did. I mean, he has created an entire generation of fans that are going to support it and want to watch it.
Brian, as we begin to wrap up, two final questions for you. Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer and Sports Illustrated. You mentioned the future for the WWE. It looks like Paul Levesque, a.k.a. Triple H, is back in the fold now. Stephanie McMahon, Vince's daughter, is back in the fold now. What does the management look like now that Vince has stepped aside?
Well, everything you mentioned is correct. That is the current management team. And the big question that we don't have answered is who will take Vince's place as the head of creative? Because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing. You have to create stars. You have to create rivalries. You have to create compelling television. You have to create storylines. And that was what Vince was always. He was always at the very top of this totem pole. They have 40 writers. They have people that offer input. But he was the guy that would take the script, tear it apart, demand it be rewritten. He had the final say on everything. He was everything, final say-wise, in WWE. So who is going to take that position? Can they do a competent job? Can they create stars? Can they create compelling television? That's the most important question, and we don't know who it's going to be right now.
Brian, I got to ask you, we are in Jacksonville, Florida, the unofficial home of AEW. I mean, Tony Khan, the son of Jaguar owner Shad Khan, is the president of that company. They were at Daly's Place during the pandemic for almost 2 years, every Wednesday night for Dynamite. What does Vince stepping aside maybe do for an AEW moving forward?
Well, that is a great unanswered question. And I think the most important thing about AEW is they are not at the level of WWE. Their viewership is about half In terms of revenue, because of the TV deals of both companies, WWE is multiple times bigger in terms of revenue. But they went from 0 to 60 in the last 3 years. They've got national television. They are often number one on cable, number one in their time slot, unless they have strong sports competition. And the big key is that the guy responsible, Tony Khan, was a fan. He was a fan for years. His family had a lot of money. He started this promotion, and he is the Vince McMahon of AEW. And while it is not as successful as WWE, it's the most successful wrestling promotion that there's been in this country since WCW. So what that tells you is the idea that only Vince McMahon can do this. It's not true. There are other people that are fans of wrestling, that work in the wrestling business, that probably can do what Vince did. And the big task is going to be to find somebody who can be the new Vince McMahon of WWE.
Brian, I know you and Dave Meltzer are going to have your cell phones glued to your ear for the next 24 to 48 hours, man. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you taking time out to join us here in Jacksonville, brother. Thank you very much. Let's do it again soon.
All right, thanks so much. Anytime.
There you go, Brian Alvarez, Wrestling Observer. He also covers wrestling for Sports Illustrated. And think about that, too. I mean, with the whole Vince McMahon thing, you go to ESPN.com, this is on the front page. You go to Sports Illustrated, you go to CBS Sports, CNN, Fox News. Somewhere on the front page of their website is Vince McMahon retiring from the WWE. So, crazy story. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, you got to wonder what they're thinking with AEW right now with Tony Khan and how this could potentially benefit them down the road now that Vince McMahon has officially announced his retirement. 641-1010 is the phone number if you want to get involved on the phone line or on the text line as well. Designed by Lifetime Enclosures. You are absolutely more than welcome to do so. Coming up next, back into the world of the National Football League. The Jaguars reporting to camp on Sunday. Let's talk with Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ, about Jacksonville and do a little training camp preview. That's next. It's Hacker After Dark on a Friday night in Jacksonville, Florida, here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
It's Friday. I heard that.
Why, dang, it's so hot. I'm sweating like a pig.
Cool off with 1010XL.
It's summertime and the beach is calling your name. Chris here with Sliders Oyster Bar at Neptune Beach. I want to invite you all to our newly renovated family-owned restaurant that I guarantee you will only be served the freshest seafood in Jacksonville. My family and I wanted to see that our beaches community only gets the best, so we built you the best. Tons more seating, upgraded kitchen, fully stocked bar, and of course, fresh oysters. Come see us at Sliders Oyster Bar in Neptune Beach, locally owned and operated by Safe Harbor Seafood.
Hey, it's Carline here. I was talking to the guys over at Griffin, and everyone knows you should always double-check your work, and AC work is no different. So don't forget to double-check any AC work at your house before summer kicks in. Or if you have an older system, consider a second opinion on its lifespan. It's possible to sleep cool tonight, even in a Jacksonville summer, and you know you want your AC to last all summer long.
Visit griffinservice.com for details. Griffin, the home of the Florida-rated AC.
Bob Arablo here, president of Your Jacksonville Iceman. Thanks to the doctors and staff at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, our team is well taken care of. We're proud to be associated with Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
This is Dr. Kevin Murphy. Our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists is ready to help you too. We'd like to thank the coaches and schools who trust in our team at Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Relieve pain and get back to life. SOS. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
When you owe the IRS and can't pay, call J. David Tax Law for effective tax representation. Never trust your tax problem to a so-called tax resolution company that doesn't employ attorneys. We are a firm of experienced tax attorneys that has successfully represented over 10,000 clients. Call 904-507-4777. That's 904-507-4777. Or visit jdavidtaxlaw.com to schedule a no-cost consultation.
Incubus. Live.
July 26th, Daly's Place. One incredible night with Incubus. And very special guest, Sublime with Rome. Incubus. On sale now. Buy tickets online at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss Incubus live.
This is Brandon with North Florida Epoxy Floors. Our product gives you a custom high-quality appearance and the longest-lasting finish at a more affordable price. So for your garage, home, or business, research the difference between 100% solids epoxy and the products like polyurea, which can be kinda fishy. Our epoxy includes a moisture vapor barrier, essential in Florida, so your North Florida epoxy floor looks great and is warranted with no fine print. Get a free estimate at northfloridaepoxyfloors.com.
How much does a cloud weigh? The answer coming right up.
It's always a good idea to compare homeowners' insurance rates instead of renewing year in and year out. Log on to southernoak.com and get an instant quote in minutes.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
According to the National Geological Society, a normal cumulus cloud can weigh up to 1 million pounds, or about 500 tons.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Did you know that the air in your home can be much worse than the air outdoors? Hicken here for Zero Res. In fact, the EPA lists indoor air quality one of the top 5 health threats in America. Zero Res can help. Cleaning air ducts is all about power. The more power you have, the more air you can move, and that's how you clean air ducts. Zero Res truck mount systems move more than 15,000 CFMs to pull all that dirt debris out of your home. Right now, Zero Res offering $50 off the cleaning of your air duct system. Zero Res, spell it forwards or backwards. It's the right way to clean.
This is Frank Frangie. Join Dan Hickett and me for All Things Gators, our podcast presented by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists, with new episodes every Monday. Subscribe and listen by searching for 1010XL Florida Gators podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or TuneIn.
This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now, hello. Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars report to training camp on Sunday. That is hard to believe, but it is here. And, of course, the Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio is only 2.5 weeks away. Emory Hunt, always kind enough to join us. You can follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. You can also see him with CBS Sports HQ. Emory, thank you for the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing fine, man. I appreciate you bringing me on.
Hey, Emory, thank you as always. And we talked before the draft. Obviously, the Jaguars went Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd in the draft. Let's kind of start there, Emory, because I haven't had you on since then. Your thoughts on what the Jaguars did in the draft, primarily the picks of both Walker and Devin Lloyd.
You know, they really upgraded, and it kind of ties into what they did the entire offseason in terms of upgrading the athleticism at the second level. You also can throw in Chad Muma in the mix, too, because all three guys, Lloyd, Muma, and Walker, are super athletic. Now, Walker's going to get most of the attention because he was the number 1 overall pick. You hope that he can transition into that outside linebacker role that they envision for him, but he gives them some more length up front. You talk about someone like Roy Robertson Harris, another lengthy guy on the opposite up front on the defensive line, and you're pairing these guys up with Josh Allen. So, you know, for me, Devin Lloyd, you can make a case that he was probably the best inside backer in the class. Walker is someone that, you know, I'm a little wait and see on, because I feel like he's more, you know, a down lineman than he is a guy that plays with his hand off the ground. Moom, I'm a big fan of, because I feel like he is ridiculoly athletic, sideline to sideline speed, and does a great job in playing the run. And when you combine those guys with Foye or Oluokun, you know, you have a really strong, lengthy, athletic group at the second level.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up. Again, Emory Hunt here with us, CBS Sports HQ. You can also follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. You bring up the defense. It's interesting you do, because when I look at what Trent Baalke's doing here, and you know this as well as anybody, Emory, Trent Baalke kind of got the wrath this offseason of Jaguar fans. He was the last one standing after Urban and after Dave Caldwell and Doug Marrone, so a lot of the venom went towards him. But you look at the defense that they put together. When you add Fatukasi from the Jets, you mentioned Oluwakin, who led the league in tackles last year. He's now here. You combine that with the second-year guys like Shaq Griffin and Andre Sisco, Rayshawn Jenkins. The front seven in particular, but even in the secondary, a lot of youth, but you kind of see what the Jaguars are doing on defense, Emory, and quite frankly, I'm a fan of it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, listen, I'm a big fan of what they're doing on defense. Tyson Campbell is someone that I made a note to speak about him on CBS Sports HQ. This was Thanksgiving weekend, and watching the game against the Falcons, I'm like, man, this dude is really balling out here, and he's balling without the ball coming his way. And when the ball came his way, he made 2 big plays on the football, and he got better each and every week from that game the rest of the way of the season. So he got better as the season went on, and I think this, the sky's the limit for him going into year 2. And also, Sisco is someone, remember he was coming back off of injury, so you get him 100% fully healthy. He brings a lot of ability to that table. We talk about he was coming off injury when he was coming into the draft, and so yeah, listen, they've done a really good job in boosting the second level. I like what they did with Gregory Jr. From Ouachita Baptist. This was someone that I saw at the NFLPA game. Really strong week of work in tight man coverage. Then also goes to the Senior Bowl and picks up right where he left off there. So yeah, the defense should be better. I'm trusting the offense because they got Doug Peterson, now as a head coach, and I expect a better year out of Trevor Lawrence. I know they're excited to get a free first-round pick back in Travis Etienne to go along with Robinson and company. So I like what I'm seeing from the Jaguars. And I said this a couple of weeks ago on CBS Sports HQ. I think the over-under was like 5.5 or 6 wins. I was like, listen, you go over that number. This to me can be a 7, 8, or potentially 9-win team based off the improvements they've made, based off the coaching that's now in place, and the talent that they have on the roster. This is a very talented team. And if it comes together for them, and to me, this AFC South is wide open. They could potentially find themselves in the thick of things toward the back end of the season in December.
Jaguar fans will love to hear that, no question about it. Now, Emory, let me ask, before we dive into the offense, you singled out Doug Peterson. The fact that Urban Meyer is no longer here, you replaced him with Doug Peterson. I don't know if you can get more different. That's 180 degrees. That is morning versus night with the experience and the NFL pedigree that Meyer had compared to what Peterson has. What do you think Doug Peterson, in regards to Trevor Lawrence, could mean for his development moving forward?
It's huge because he's an athletic guy. We know Peterson has had success working with athletic quarterbacks. Carson Wentz, he made the move to throw in Jalen Hurts, and they had success down the stretch before he got, let go. And now he gets a guy in Trevor Lawrence that has that same type of ability. And so for me, knowing how he constructs offenses and knowing that he's able to maximize personnel, and I just mentioned 2 running backs, expect both guys to get the football a lot, in terms of how they're going to deploy those guys in. You bring in Christian Kirk to go along with what they already have on the roster. And so for me, I think the offensive line is underrated. They'll be much better up front, along with a better coach in Doug Peterson. And, you got a wealth of talent at your disposal. So that's why I'm so bullish on the Jags being so much better than what we saw last year.
One of the big questions, Emory, here locally, again, Emory Hunt here with us. You can follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. You also see him on CBS Sports HQ. One of the big questions this offseason, did they do enough on the roster to surround Trevor with talent? You brought up Travis Etienne. Did they overpay for Christian Kirk? Well, yeah, that's what everybody tells me. We'll see. Zay Jones. I love Evan Ingram. I think Evan Ingram is a diamond in the rough type guy. You add Brandon Scherf from Washington. I've made the point many times this offseason, Emory. The Jaguars have 5 guys that caught 46 or more passes in the NFL last year. There's not a lot of rosters that can say that. I don't know what that means, but if nothing else, it's an interesting side note. What about this offense and the additions they made?
Well, you have now an ability to be dynamic and explosive. Kirk is an explosive guy. Etienne, before the injury, was an explosive guy. Marvin Jones is someone that comes up clutch when you need him to and making big plays. Laviska Shenault can be a move piece on offense. We saw, what they did with Robinson and how he can kind of set the table in the run game. Ingram, if he's able to use this as the second opportunity as a chance to rewrite his career, you like his athleticism as well. So for me, they got a lot of guys that can, really put the ball in the paint, that can generate chunk plays. Trevor Lawrence is one of those guys as well, and you expect to see that second year bump. And again, I talked about the offensive line. Those guys being better. They got great play last year, quite honestly, from Walker Little. And now that they were able to bring back Cam Robinson as well. And so for me, I love this Jacksonville team. They're young. They're dynamic, in my opinion. They got some athleticism. Their defense is going to be better. So, and you combine all of those factors in a wide open AFC South, it's going to be fun to watch.
You've covered the league for years now, Emory, and I'm curious your opinion on this regarding the Jaguars. Look, if you're a third or fourth year player here in Jacksonville, all you really know is losing. Trust me, I've done the post-game show every Sunday. All I know is talking about losing. How hard will it be for this locker room and this roster to kind of change their mindset? And how much of a job will that be for Doug Peterson to change the culture in that locker room from a team that only knows losing to a team that expects to win?
Well, it takes time, and it takes examples. So when you have examples of success, and whether that's, a great rep or a great practice, or you really graded out well in the preseason, as long as you're seeing success of the message gets reinforced. And so when you see those things happening, you go from not believing to believing. And when you believe and it's still happening, you go to expecting. So it's a process, but it's a process that can happen by the time they get to the season. And it's all starting now with how they were able to handle OTAs and minicamp and how they're going to attack the preseason. They're trying to stack positive things on top of one another and let that set the table for how they're going to do this season. I would also throw out undrafted free agent Garrett Prince, the tight end from UAB. Big fan of him. I think he has a chance to surprise.
Yeah, he's looked very good in some of the offseason stuff that they've done. Emory, as we start to make the turn for home here, last Jaguar question, and then I want to get a thought from you on the division. But when it comes to Jacksonville, you mentioned it a little earlier, but I think Jaguar fans would probably like to hear it again. Expectations for 2022. Look, I don't think this is going to be the Cincinnati Bengals of last year, but they've won 4 games in 2 years. You had them maybe at 7, 8, or even 9 wins, so you do expect quite a big leap forward for this organization.
Yeah, because they're playing in a very favorable division that gives you a little bit of a chance to make some headway and perhaps upset a couple teams and get to the top. So it's not like they're playing in the AFC East or AFC West or AFC North. This is by far the least stacked division, in my opinion, in the AFC. So they got a chance. But also, they have talent. And, I listed all the names before. This is a very talented team, and they're young. So they've done a really good job in turning over some of the parts of the roster. And when you're getting great play on offense from your quarterback, who you expect to be a franchise guy or, a top-tier guy, it helps everything else out. If your offense is playing well, your defense is more in advantageous situations to get off the field, and the opposing offense is at a disadvantage because you know what they have to do in order to come back. So for me, it's really going to be about them playing better with better talent, which they have, and it should be exciting to see for Jacksonville because, again, everyone in this division has holes and has some significant questions, especially at quarterback. You worry about Tannehill. You worry about Houston and Davis Mills. You worry about what's going on in what's the Colts. How will Matt Ryan show his age? You know what I mean? So you have questions about every other quarterback situation, some more than others, but there's not a definitive team that you say, okay, this is the number one team. Jacksonville has a chance.
Emory Hunt does a terrific job for CBS Sports HQ. You can also follow him on Twitter at FBallGamePlan. Emory, final question. The AFC South, he just talked about it. I had a preview last week, went to guys in every AFC South market. Here's the gist of what I was told. In Indianapolis, they expect to be very good. In Tennessee, they hope the window is still open, but they believe the window of opportunity might be starting to narrow a little bit. Houston, they're still a couple of years away. They're just happy they don't have Deshaun Watson questions anymore. And then, of course, here in Jacksonville, very similarly, they're just happy Urban Meyer's gone and Doug Peterson's in. So on paper, Emory, it appears to be the Colts and the Titans, and then a pretty significant drop to Jacksonville and Houston. Would you agree with that?
Nah, I really do think Jacksonville could really be number 2. You know, Tennessee to me seemed limited offensively. So, you know, you have some questions there. Their defense is going to be good. They play good football, and their run game helps keep them in the game. And Indianapolis, you know, they have probably the better, well-rounded offense. They can throw, you expect with Matt Ryan. Houston, you don't know what you're going to get from Davis Mills and, you know, and how much improvement you're going to see defensively. Now, they do have some pieces, but I worry more about their run game and their quarterback play. Jacksonville, we just talked about their talent and what they have. So it's not like the Jags can, you know, there's a significant drop-off. They can legitimately finish second in this division, in my opinion.
Jaguar fans are going to love to hear that. Emory Hunt, he's always kind enough to join us from CBS Sports HQ. And again, very interactive on Twitter. At FBallGamePlan is where you can follow him. Emory, you're always gracious with your time, man. We appreciate it. We'll talk again soon, buddy. Thank you.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for having me on.
Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ, here with us on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. And I love the different perspectives that we've gotten on Hacker After Dark, really going back since we started back in the evenings about 3 months ago now. And Emory Hunt's one of the guys that, look, did he say second in the division? Whoa. So you're telling me, or at least Emory's telling us, that he thinks Jacksonville could potentially be better than Tennessee. I think everybody's going to pick Indianapolis. Indianapolis right now, on paper, has the better roster. Before injuries start piling up and who knows what's going to happen on down the line, there's no question that Indianapolis, the Colts, have the best roster in the division. Tennessee, again, the Titans will tell you they think they're going to be pretty good this year. Some in the Titans media will tell you they think they're going to be good, but that window of opportunity may be closing a little bit. Keep in mind, Jonnu Smith is gone, 2 years removed. A.J. Brown is now gone. They've lost some pieces. Tannehill's getting older. Derrick Henry had his real first substantial NFL injury last year. So some of the things you're starting to see with Tennessee you don't like a little bit. With Houston, I think Houston's maybe a year behind Jacksonville. If Davis Mills turns out to be the guy, then Houston's going to be in fantastic shape. But is he the guy? That's the question. It's my SEC bias. I'll admit that. My SEC homerism. I'll admit that. But I love what the Texans did in the draft. Getting Singletary, right, from LSU, Kenyon Green from A&M, John Mechie and Christian Harris from Alabama, Damian Pierce from Florida, Austin DeCoulis from LSU. They went heavy in the Southeastern Conference, which I love. Again, I still think they're a couple of years away, but I like what they're starting to build, what they're starting to piece together there in Houston. And here in Jacksonville, very similar to Houston, a lot of unknowns, but clearly Jacksonville has a better roster than Houston. Jacksonville spent the money in free agency that Houston could not afford to spend. So when you bring in a Christian Kirk, a Zay Jones, an Evan Ingram, and a Luakon, Darius Williams, Fatukasi, Brandon Scherf, on down the line, that's why Jacksonville, to me, is in that conversation for 7 wins. Could they get more than that? I'd be surprised. But a 7-win football team this year, after you've won 4 games in 2020 and 2021 combined, sign me up for that. I would take that in an absolute heartbeat. Ben Lindsay, Pro Football Focus. He's coming up in the 9 o'clock hour as we'll talk more Jaguars from the analytical point of view. Pro Football Focus. I do enjoy that website. Ben Lindsay coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Also, my friend Brent Beard. You see him on First Coast News. You hear him right here with me on Hacker After Dark, as we'll put a wrap on what was a crazy, eventful week in both Charlotte for the ACC kickoff and, of course, Atlanta for SEC Media Days. We are at halftime here on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We're with you till 10 o'clock, Jacksonville. We're glad you're with us. As always, Hacker After Dark is streaming for your viewing pleasure. Go to 1010XL YouTube channel, the 1010XL YouTube channel. You'll see Hacker After Dark there till 10 o'clock. Be sure and like and subscribe. By the way, episode 2, The Book of Bo, released today. I watched it. It was fantastic, just like episode 1 was. You can see it on the 1010XL YouTube channel, also 1010XL Facebook, anywhere you see and listen to your podcasts. Coming up next, we'll get into the world of college football. We'll talk a little Florida. We'll talk a little Georgia. Did you see where the Southeastern Conference media had the Gators picked to finish this year in the SEC East? Ooh, that's next on Hacker After Dark.
Professional radio broadcasters.
Hey, sorry. Dinner dozen gifts. Diner dozen.
That is awful.
So Cole.
I was flowing real good, then wasn't it?
You've got to be kidding me.
Professional, for crying out loud.
Who wrote this?
1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Have you ever regretted buying a car? Is the idea of shopping at a dealership scary? We want you to know that you don't have to feel that way, and I promise that Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet will provide the wow experience and peace of mind you deserve. We believe that taking care of our team, our customers, and our community is more important than anything. So give us the chance to earn your business and join our 50,000 plus and counting wowed customers. You won't regret it. See you at Beaver Toyota in St. Augustine or Beaver Chevrolet in Jacksonville. We're going to wow you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along, which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. Just go to this exclusive web address, ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Time now for a medical recap. A health and wellness tip from Jaguars head team physician Dr. Kevin Kaplan.
Strength and resistance training are some of the best forms of exercise you can do to strengthen your muscles and improve your body composition. It may also lead to important improvements in metabolic health, meaning your blood sugar levels are easier to manage, and it also increases how many calories you burn at rest. The Physical Activity Guidelines for Americans recommends resistance training twice per week in addition to cardio training. Let's get fit, Jacksonville.
Golfers, it's time to tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops with all the hottest brands in golf at the best prices, featuring tailor-made stealth carbon woods and irons. Callaway's Rogue ST collection of woods and irons, Titleist's T-Series irons and Vokey wedges, and Ping's G425 woods and irons. All this and more at Edwin Watts Golf Shops. Swing by and receive a free custom fitting today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee, or shop us online at worldwidegolfshops.com.
Don't miss the Jacksonville Sharks Military Appreciation Night, presented by Navy Federal, Saturday, July 23rd at the VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena. The first 1,000 fans in attendance will receive a free custom-made Sharks Military Night rally towel. All active duty, retired, and veterans will receive a buy one, get one free ticket offer as we honor our nation's heroes. Tickets start at $12. Call 904-621-0700.
Find your why in your next career move at the First Coast YMCA. Everyone can get involved and make a difference in your community at the Y. And if you'd like to turn your passion into a fulfilling career, the Y is an equal opportunity employer and is now hiring youth program leaders, lifeguards, swim instructors, and more. Plus, Y staff enjoy benefits including free YMCA membership and free childcare while you work. Find your passion, find your why in a career at fcymca.org.
Are you looking for increased privacy and protection for your family and pets? Look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Superior Fence and Rail is Jacksonville's top-rated fence company, delivering the highest quality fence products. They'll treat your property as if it's their own. So get off the fence and get your privacy back. Call Superior Fence and Rail today for your on-site estimates.
When you're on the fence about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
Is the urge to go a constant fear? Your prostate might be the culprit. Schedule your screening with Ackerman Urology today to fight back. Call 904-490-7400 or visit AckermanUrology.com.
This is Hayes Carlion for Kingfish Pest Control, a local family-owned business that specializes in pest, termites, mosquito, and rodent prevention. I tell you what, when I got my new home, I had to put on my reporter's hat, find out who really is the best, and it turns out there's no competition. Kingfish provides exceptional service and treats me like a valued customer, not just an account. That's why I wholeheartedly recommend Kingfish Pest Control, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Mark Watson with Hardball Creative. Youth sports are getting back into full swing, so you know what that means. Custom Yetis so dads can keep their beer or sodas cold. Check them out at hardballcreative.com.
Hardball Creative. Hardball does it all.
The flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
9 o'clock hour has arrived in the city of Jacksonville. It's Hacker After Dark on a Friday, taking you to 10 o'clock. Thank you to Brian Alvarez of Wrestling Observer and Sports Illustrated for joining us in hour number one to discuss the retirement of WWE Chairman Vince McMahon. Also, thank you to Emory Hunt, CBS Sports HQ. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, Ben Lindsay, Pro Football Focus, and Brent Beard of First Coast News, and right here on 1010XL to wrap up SEC Media Days and the ACC kickoff. Speaking of a little college football, a couple of things that really struck me today. You want to know why people thought Tennessee was a bad job? And I give Josh Heupel an unbelievable amount of credit because he has turned that around. Tennessee picked to finish third, by the way, in the SEC East. I think they're going to be second. I think they're the second best team in the division. But we knew the Jeremy Pruitt situation was bad. Come to find out, the NCAA has leveled 18, allegations against Tennessee for paying players when you could not pay players a couple of years ago. That's a no-no. That was frowned upon. So we'll see the punishment that is handed out. And this is always a slippery slope to me. Anybody that had any affiliation with Jeremy Pruitt is not going to be there when the punishment is handed out, right? Heupel obviously wasn't there. A majority of the players, when said punishment, whatever it is, happens, would not have been there under Pruitt. So you're penalizing the university. You're penalizing the fans. But you're also penalizing coaches and players that had nothing to do with what happened with the Jeremy Pruitt situation. So we'll see what the NCAA does, but there's a 51-page report that is out that does include, I believe, 18 sanctions or allegations against Tennessee stemming back from Jeremy Pruitt. By the way, the SEC media did vote in Atlanta at Media Days. I mentioned that earlier. Florida Gators came in at number 4. Here's the way the voting went in the SEC East by the assembled media in Atlanta. Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, South Carolina, Missouri, Vanderbilt. Of the possible, 181 first-place votes, Georgia got 172, Kentucky with 4, South Carolina with 3, Tennessee 1, Vanderbilt 1. Whoever voted Vanderbilt number 1 should lose their vote. It's pretty simple. That's ridiculous. And I'm sure that was, VanderbiltFan.com that was covering media days for Vandy Fan and VandyFrontPorch.net, wearing all his Vanderbilt gear. Either that or Tony Smith went up there.
You never know, Hack.
That's ridiculous. You find out who voted Vanderbilt number 1 in a legitimate preseason media poll, and you take their vote away. And that'll stop nonsense like that. In the SEC West, the voting was this. Possible 181 first-place votes. Alabama got 177. Texas A&M second. Arkansas third. Followed by Ole Miss, LSU, Mississippi State, and Auburn. Wow, Auburn. I can tell you this. If Auburn finishes dead last in the SEC West, and I like Brian Harsin, I thought he handled himself very well at media days. But Denmark, if Auburn finishes last in the West, Harsin's gone.
Yeah, not to turn the subject real quick, but your boy Matt Hayes said if that happens, number 1 on their list is going to be Urban Meyer to get him at Auburn.
Yeah, Matt, and look, hey, Matt's a friend, so I'm not trying to blow smoke here. Matt knows those sort of things. I will never doubt Matt Hayes again, because I was sitting in this radio studio with Matt on XL Primetime like 2 years ago when he brought up Urban Meyer to Jacksonville. And I thought he was nuts. I said, no way, what are you talking about? And we all know what happened. Now, Matt didn't say anything about him being successful. Matt didn't say anything about it working out. Matt Hayes just simply said Urban Meyer to Jacksonville. Keep that on the back of your mind. And I'll be a son of a gun if it didn't happen. So if Matt is saying now that if Auburn fires Brian Harsin, that Urban Meyer would be a target, I'm going to believe Matt Hayes. Because that guy knows what he's talking about in the world of college football. When it comes to Florida, we talked about this earlier this week. I stand by it. If you were to tell me 8-4 right now for the Gators, I might sign on the dotted line. I'm serious. I got serious concerns about their lines of scrimmage, particularly the defensive line. I think the defensive line is a bad deal at Florida right now. You got a couple of players like Brenton Cox and Dexter, but after that, it's pretty thin on the D-line. I think Florida's going to have a problem stopping the run, and that's a bad problem to have in the SEC. And with that schedule, with Utah and Florida State out of conference, with A&M and Georgia and LSU and Tennessee and Kentucky, heck, South Carolina and Missouri beat you last year. Find me many more than 8 wins on that schedule unless you are just a orange and blue, goggle-wearing Gator apologist. I don't know if you can find more than 8 wins on their schedule, if you're being honest with yourself. It'll be interesting. That game against Utah is going to be fascinating. What does Florida look like in Billy Napier's first game in Gainesville on opening night there at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium? Florida begins practice soon. Florida State begins practice on Wednesday. In the NFL, the Jaguars begin practice on Monday. They report to training camp on Sunday. Ben Lindsay, Pro Football Focus. Let's get analytical with the Jaguars. Let's preview training camp. Let's look back on the offseason. And I want to find out once and for all what Pro Football Focus has against Cam Robinson. We're going to do all that with Ben Lindsay of PFF. He's next. Hacker After Dark on a Friday. 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
Draft in the fast groove on 1010XL.
Got a great push from the 12 car.
This Sunday at Pocono Raceway. Brought to you by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. From the station with the most horsepower, 1010XL.
I'm Taylor Rose with our Remedy Staffing Westside office off of Normandy Boulevard. We are helping great people find great jobs. Remedy has helped some of the best employers in Jacksonville find talented job seekers like you for over 25 years. Our current job openings range from entry-level distribution center pickers to equipment operators. Apply today at remedygoodjobs.com. Don't wait. Apply at remedygoodjobs.com now.
Next time you're tempted to speed, think about who's waiting for you at home. On average, 8 people are killed each day in crashes on Florida's roadways, so slow down. Pay attention behind the wheel and help drive roadway fatalities down to 0. Let's get everyone home, Florida. Don't let a fast drive be your last drive. Brought to you by the Florida Department of Transportation.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. These intense summer storms are a good reminder to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Check out Pella's new Hurricane Shield and Defender series. These amazing windows exceed all coastal requirements for storm protection. Seriously, they can withstand the impact of a 2x4 shot out of a cannon at 50 feet per second. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway right next to Tesla. That's Pella Windows and Doors.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Picking here, about 2 years ago, I had Bueller Air out to install the nicest system we've ever had at our home. Why did I choose Bueller? Well, they were and still are locally owned, and their service is immaculate. I mean, they really have the coolest guys in town. Right now, they even have 0% financing available on all new systems. So remember, for AC needs, stay cooler with Bueller.
Bueller Air. Stay cooler with Bueller.
Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods, and today's spot is dedicated to quality. You've come to expect fresh, never frozen, quality, delicious sandwiches, salads, and subs from Dandy. When it comes to grab-and-go sandwiches, if it doesn't say Dandy on the front, chances are it was made somewhere else, tossed in a freezer, then shipped in alongside the chicken nuggets. Not exactly fresh and not exactly quality. So the next time you're out and about, stop in at a gate and pick up your favorite and taste real quality while making yours a Dandy today.
Hey guys, want to know something? Get regular checkups. That's right. Schedule an appointment with your primary care doctor when something is feeling off. Also, get some exercise. Oh, and by the way, it's okay to take a break and just breathe. Don't know where to start? That's where Millennium Physician Group comes in. Millennium Physician Group now accepting new and same-day patients. Also, your Medicare matters here. Go to millenniumphysician.com to find an office in your neighborhood. Millennium Physician Group, your connection to a healthier life.
When you look for that hard-to-find part for your car or truck, Rusty Acres is your source for used Ford, Lincoln, and Mercury auto parts. You'll get the parts you need and advice on how to install them. Rusty Acres, 786-1777.
Did you know that July is National Carpet Cleaning Month? To celebrate, Zero Res offering 25% off all carpet cleaning in your home. Book online at ZeroResJacksonville.com or give them a call. Zero Res. You spell it forwards or backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
I'm Jeff McCall for Trustline Mortgage, along with my business partners Alan Tyre, Bill Pappas, and Ken Rimley, have been in business for 32 years. We've seen some incredible mortgage markets. Many of our clients took advantage of these markets to refinance their properties. They lowered their payments, took cash out for college tuition, did renovations, shortened their terms, got rid of their mortgage insurance, even consolidated their debts into one easy small payment. Well, that opportunity is here again right now for you. These rates are extremely low. However, the market is starting to move in a different direction. Inflation, as you know, is already here. Look at the cost of gas, milk, lumber. Don't miss out because you put it off and didn't call. No one wants to hear years from now, I shoulda, I coulda, I woulda. Be a person that gets things done. Call Trustline Mortgage now at 381-LOAN. I'm serious. Call 381-LOAN now while it's fresh on your mind, or visit our website at trustlinemortgage.com. Trust your instincts and follow the line to Trustline Mortgage.
Certain restrictions apply. See office for details. Trustline is an equal housing lender. NMLS number 331480.
Do you suffer from mild to moderate high blood pressure? Should you be taking medication but are currently not on anything? Or maybe taking medication but unsatisfied with the results? If so, CNS Healthcare invites you to take part in a clinical research study for mild to moderate hypertension at no cost. Qualified participants may receive reimbursements for study procedures and travel. For your no-cost study assessment, call CNS Healthcare at 904-281-5757 or visit cnshealthcare.com for more on this mild to moderate hypertension research study.
The Drill takes you inside the ropes with PGA Tour insiders on Brunch with the Tour.
Yeah, that's a good spot to be.
Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation. Brunch provided by Chick-fil-A on 1010XL. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the accident attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jaguars report to training camp on Sunday, if you can believe that. That is hard to imagine. They are on the practice field next Monday, and they play the Las Vegas Raiders in the Hall of Fame game on Thursday night, August the 4th. Let's look back on a crazy offseason and look ahead to 2022 with my friend Ben Lindsay. Pro Football Focus does a terrific job with PFF. Ben, thank you for the time, man. How are you?
I'm doing good, man, and thanks for having me on.
Hey, Ben, always appreciate it. Know you're busy this time of year. And, boy, what an offseason for Jacksonville. Let's kind of take it back to the very beginning, the hire of Doug Peterson following what was an interesting coaching search, to say the least. Ben, I haven't talked to you since they hired Peterson. What did you make of the hire?
Yeah, I mean, the only direction it can go is up, right? But I think, in all honesty, Peterson is a really good fit for Trevor Lawrence and that offense. I think one of the bigger issues that they had last year was sort of providing opportunities for him to get the ball out of his hands quickly, get the ball out in rhythm, having clear progressions. And I think Peterson's really going to help with that, given his history in Philadelphia. And it'll open up more of the middle of the field. That's an area that they really didn't attack a ton last season. And it's an area where you really can get a lot of value throwing the ball. So I think from that perspective, and just getting sort of a guy with experience, a well-respected guy in the room, is going to be really big for the Jaguars and specifically Lawrence.
You know, what I think is interesting, too, you look at the parallels for when Peterson took over Philadelphia, Ben, to where he takes over Jacksonville. He replaced Chip Kelly. It did not end well in Philly with Chip Kelly. And he took over a young quarterback, like you mentioned, in Carson Wentz. Well, here he replaces a nightmarish scenario with Urban Meyer last year. So he has experience replacing uber popular guy that did not work out and inherits a young quarterback. So that alone, there are parallels from when he took over Philly to where he is now here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're definitely, just the coaching staff overall is trending in the right direction. I like sort of some of the staff that he put in place too. Mike Caldwell on defense coming over from Tampa Bay. I think it's really interesting sort of what they did at the linebacker position this offseason and sort of Caldwell's background with the Buccaneers. So I think that group in general is trending in the right direction.
Ben Lindsay, ProFootballFocus.com, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL Radio in Jacksonville. Ben, I say it all the time. What I love about your website is the analytics, you guys crunching the numbers, throwing out your opinions. You don't really apologize for those opinions. So let me ask you this. When you guys look at Trevor Lawrence last year, and you look at 12 touchdowns, 17 picks, he went 8 weeks, I think, with 1 touchdown pass. How much of that do you think was him struggling on the field, or how much of that was lack of talent around him and the nonsense going on off the field?
Yeah, it's honestly tough to untangle those two things, because there's not really any numbers that paint him in a super positive light from his rookie season as a passer. Pretty much across the board, he's towards the bottom of the league. But like you said, it was just a nightmare situation off the field. Not just from a schematic perspective, but just constant sort of turmoil in the building. And then the supporting cast, his receiving core, was one of the worst in the league as far as supporting him. They were top 3 in drops, bottom 5 in contested catch rate, bottom 5 in yards after the catch per reception, right? So he wasn't getting a ton of help from that group either. So it wasn't super promising his year, but if there's any year where you're going to give a guy a free pass for the situation that he was thrown into, I think it's last year for Lawrence.
You know, one of the big topics of conversation, Ben, here in Jacksonville, did they do enough to surround Trevor with talent? this offseason. And we know the money they spent, right? And we've talked about that ad nauseum. But the bottom line is they bring in Brandon Scherf on the offensive line, a former All-Pro, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, a guy I really like in Evan Ingram, and you get Travis Etienne back from injury. I don't know how much better, Ben, they are at the skill positions, but they are clearly better than they were a season ago, are they not?
Yeah, they are. And that's the whole thing with the sort of the conversation around the free agent spending. You can argue about whether they got good value, but you can't argue that they got better. They definitely added talent for Trevor Lawrence. Christian Kirk's a guy who gives him a guy who can separate deep. That's something that they were missing last year, especially after Chark went down. So bringing him in, regardless of what they paid him, that'll help. Same with Zay Jones and Evan Ingram, sort of complementary wide receivers. So I think the talent level around him, paired with the scheme stuff that we talked a little bit about with Doug Peterson, it definitely puts him in a better position to succeed in 2022.
Ben Lindsay, ProFootballFocus.com. Ben, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Evan Ingram, but I was talking to a couple of my media brethren in New York, and apparently it was really bad there at times for Evan and the fan base. He comes down to Jacksonville, a one-year, quote-unquote, prove-it deal, if you will. I just saw they just got engaged recently. He's no longer that 21-year-old kid from the Southeast to go up to New York City. He now comes back to maybe more familiar territory where he played his college ball at Ole Miss. I think that is potentially a diamond in the rough in Doug Peterson's offense. What's your opinion on him?
Yeah, I don't hate the move at all as a one-year flyer. He definitely had his issues in New York, struggled with drops at times, especially early in his career. But there's not that many tight ends in the league with his athletic profile. And that creates mismatches if used correctly. And I think that was an issue with the Giants. They weren't putting him in a ton of positions to succeed. I think that Giants offense had some of the worst schemes in the league for a lot of the time that he was there. But if you use him as sort of a vertical threat down the middle of the field, a guy who can create a little bit after the catch, a one-year deal like the one that they gave him, it definitely makes sense to continue to add the talent around Trevor Lawrence.
I'll give you a crazy stat. I want to say the number's 44. His worst season in New York for Evan Ingram was 44 catches, considered a bust up there. In 27 years of Jaguar football, only 3 of those 27 years have the Jaguars had a tight end catch more than 44 passes. So that's what Evan Ingram's coming down to. It's going to be hard for him not to be one of the better tight ends the Jaguars have had in a long, long time. Ben, I'm looking at all the websites, you guys in particular. Everybody's really high on Travis Etienne. And I hope that foot injury is healed. He's looked very good out at OTAs. We'll see what happens when the pads come on here in a very short amount of time. But man alive, Etienne is getting a lot of pub coming into 2022.
Yeah, and I think it's another big sort of addition back into that offense for a guy who missed last year. Rushing pretty much his entire career at Clemson, he was one of the better backs in the FBS, and he really picked things up his final season as a receiver. And that was sort of the conversation last offseason, was how he was going to be used. Was he going to be split out wide in the slot? But even just receiving out of the backfield and having that outlet for Lawrence, I think that's huge. And just the chemistry that those two have together. 2018 to 2020, they were third in college football in yards per play as an offense. Both Lawrence and Etienne were top 5 graded players at their position for us. So getting those two back on the field together, I think it could be super helpful for Jacksonville.
Ben Lindsay, ProFootballFocus.com. All right, Ben, at the draft, they went defense. Surprising some defense with Trayvon Walker and Devin Lloyd, Chad Muma as well. You mentioned the linebacking core. How would you assess the Jaguar draft class, beginning, of course, with Walker and Lloyd?
Yeah, I think a lot of the decisions that they made were a little bit questionable. I probably wouldn't have taken Walker at first overall, and that's really not to say that Walker isn't a bad player. He's a good player. He was so divided people when they were looking at Walker as a prospect, because the tools were so great. It's really rare, a guy that big who moves the way that he does, is as explosive as he is. And that's why he went number 1 overall, and looking at what he could be. But from a production standpoint, wasn't on par with the guys like Aiden Hutchinson, like a Kayvon Thibodeau at the top of this draft class. So I can understand why they did what they did. Personally, I probably would have gone a different way. And then linebacker, they really strengthened that group with Devin Lloyd, with Chad Muma, on top of Aluakun, who they signed in free agency. So I'm interested to see what their plans are with the linebacker position and how they work all of those guys onto the field. But their front seven overall, I think, is definitely a lot better than it was last season.
You know, you mentioned Aluakun. I'm happy you did that. We focused so much on the offense. They hit every position in defensive free agency in the draft. Fatukasi from the Jets, Aluakun from the Falcons, Darius Williams and his Super Bowl ring from the Rams. A very underrated signing to me is Arden Key, who had 6 sacks in San Francisco. Then you add Walker and Lloyd and, as you said, Muma. So if nothing else, Ben, it's a defensive overhaul to add to the likes of Josh Allen, Shaq Griffin, DeJuan Smoot. How much better do you think the Jaguar defense is this year?
Yeah, I think there's a chance it takes a step forward, and they need it to, right? Because they've invested a lot on that side of the ball over the last 2 off seasons. I believe that in terms of cap hit, they have the second most expensive defense in the league, behind only the Steelers next season.
Wow.
Right? So they've thrown a lot of money on that side of the ball. And they have some pieces who I like. I like the Fatukasi signing. A little bit of a down year for us in terms of grade last season in New York, but the few years before that, he was one of the best run-stuffing defensive tackles in the NFL. So throwing him in the middle, getting that talent at linebacker, and then you have some pieces in the secondary with Darius Williams, with Shaq Griffin, with Tyson Campbell, right? So it still remains to be seen how all those pieces fit together, but they've definitely improved the talent level on that side of the ball.
All right, Ben, as we begin to wrap up again, Ben Lindsay, ProFootballFocus.com. Let's look at the roster as a whole. When they left the field January 9th, it was their best game of the year. They beat Indianapolis, probably sent Carson Wentz packing and cost the Colts a playoff spot, but they capped off a 3-14 year. Clearly, it's going to be hard not to be better. They've won only 4 games in the last 2 years. What is your expectation? Are they a 7-10 team? Are they 6-11? Are they better than that? What do you think? Early thought from you on the Jaguars in 2022.
I think 7-10 is about right. The thing that they have going for them is they're in the right division in the AFC to win some games. The AFC South is definitely the softest of those divisions, with Tennessee looking like they're probably going to take a step back, with the Texans being the Texans. They have a chance to put together some wins in that division. I still think there's some questions on the offensive line. I know they extended Cam Robinson at tackle, but tackle's a little bit of a concern. How all those pieces fit together on defense and offense, honestly, with the new coaching staff and sort of how all those pieces gel together. I think improving to a 7-10, potentially an 8-9 would qualify as a good year for them.
Final question, Ben. You mentioned Cam Robinson. I'm happy you did. Well, you guys at Pro Football Focus are not Cam Robinson guys, because I remember the top 150 free agents. I'm not sure if you did it or one of your colleagues. I think Cam was like 121st on that list. What is it, analytically speaking, that you guys don't like about Cam Robinson?
Yeah, he's never really graded super high for us in the run game. It has improved a little bit in pass protection the last few years. So that's a trend that Jacksonville is obviously banking on continuing. But he just isn't in that conversation of guys who you typically would franchise tag for us in terms of his grading profile, in terms of pressure allowed, his performance in the run game. So it was kind of surprising to see them franchise tag him again and then agree to that long-term extension, just based on his performance the last couple of years.
Ben, I have no doubt the good folks here in Jacksonville, when they head to PFF.com leading up to the season, you guys will have a ton of information, fantasy football stuff, and certainly a lot of rankings, a lot of analysis heading into the year.
I appreciate it. We've got a lot coming out here, especially around the fantasy season. over the next month. So definitely check out pff.com for all of that.
Ben Lindsay, ProFootballFocus.com. Ben, thank you for the time, brother. Appreciate it. We'll do it again soon.
Anytime. Take care, man.
Now, Studio Talk with Dan Hicken and Jeff Prosser.
Me and you are the same height. We're not the same height. I'm handsome, tall.
The Drill.
You're the type of tall where you walk to the airport and people stop what they're eating and look at you.
Mornings.
You're like a freak.
On 1010XL.
Here's Linda Beaver.
Listen up. We want your car and we're ready to pay more than anyone else. Curious to know how much? You can get an immediate appraisal and same-day cash at any of our stores. Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet will pay what you deserve. If it has 4 wheels and runs, let us take a look. Come see us now. Why are you still sitting there? We're not messing around. Get the most out of your car right now. Come visit us and see what we can do for you today. Beaver Toyota and Beaver Chevrolet. We want to wow you and buy your car.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford.
We are off the chain again. We had 5 shootings, 2 killed in a matter of hours. It was not just the north side. It was all over. Mayport, south side, west side, north side. Let you know it's not just one part of town. We know they have a sheriff race coming up. We cannot get caught up on that. We as a community have got to say enough is enough. We've got to take a stand and start breaking the code of silence and tell what we know. As always, JSO was not there when the 5 shootings occurred. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think.
For information about Mad Dads, go to Mad Dads Jacksonville Chapter Facebook or MadDadsJacksonville.com.
If you've been involved in a car accident, call me, Mark Anajar, at the law offices of Anajar and Levine at 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. And take back control of your life.
Office in Jacksonville.
Going too frequently? It might be your prostate. Schedule your screening with Ackerman Urology and get your life back. Call 904-490-7400 or visit AckermanUrology.com today.
Thinking about a graduate degree? Consider Webster University. Enrolling now for MBA degrees with several areas of emphasis to fit your career goals. Earn your degree completely online or in person one night each week at the local campus. Webster University is a military-friendly, nonprofit university. They accept VA benefits, employer tuition assistance, and financial aid. You've waited long enough. Apply today at webster.edu. Webster University, an accredited degree that fits your lifestyle.
When getting the job done right is job one, you need construction equipment that's built right. From compact track loaders to the world's #1 selling compact excavator, the Kubota construction lineup features durable Kubota engines, more comfort, and the versatility to do it all and do it right. Visit your local Kubota dealer today. Go to KubotaUSA.com for full disclaimer.
Visit Coastal Equipment in Jacksonville and McClenny to reach your North Florida Kubota Superstore.
Monahan Jewelers is Jacksonville's source for fine jewelry and certified diamonds for 45 years. Have confidence knowing that you're buying the highest quality diamond at the best price. Monahan's has the inventory of several jewelry stores in one location with unbelievable prices. Diamonds, gemstones, and gold jewelry for every budget. At Monahan Jewelers, expect a huge inventory, great prices, expert jewelry repair, and fantastic service. Visit us at MonahanJewelry.com or call 246-GOLD for Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Baseball is back. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, presented by FIS, takes the field this season at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark as the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins. Tickets start at just $5. Fireworks after every Friday home game, and kids run the bases after Sunday games. Call 358-2846 or jackshrimp.com for tickets. Jumbo Shrimp Baseball, affordable family fun.
Estate cleanouts, hoarding cleanouts, old appliances, and even tools. There are tons of reasons why you or someone you know may need expert help clearing space. J-Dog Junk Removal will responsibly help you free up space. That means when they leave your place, it looks better. Whether it's you or a loved one that needs one type of cleanout at your home, trust the veterans at J-Dog Junk Removal. Veteran-owned and operated. Call 844-GET-JDOG or visit jdog.com.
Hey, Rural Pest Services here. Have mercy, the heat and afternoon thunderstorms are here. With that, we get the skeeters, or for the transplants, mosquitoes. At Royal, we offer a monthly, bi-weekly, or one-time mosquito suppression service. The treatment process offers up to a 95% knockdown on all mosquito activity. So let Royal help you enjoy that backyard oasis this summer. Visit RoyalPestServices.com to schedule a free estimate.
Griffin Service SEC Football Media Days.
Someone said football, so I come running.
Missed an interview or want to hear one again?
Yeah.
Find it at 1010XL.com.
What a beautiful thing to behold.
Brought to you by Coastal Equipment and Instant Keys. This 1010XL 92.5 FM hour is powered by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Call 904-600-4000. That's 904-600-4000. Now,
hello.
Another great guest on the Farah and Farah phone line. Brought to you by the Accident Attorneys at Farah and Farah.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. It is a Friday night, and we are glad you are with us. What a week it was in the world of college football with both the SEC Media Days and the ACC kickoff now in the books. Brent Beard was up in Atlanta for all 4 days of SEC Media Days, and he joins us here on Hacker After Dark. Brent, thank you for the time, man. How are you?
Well, I'm doing well. It's been a good week. Always enjoy media days. You learn something, and just to be able to see these guys up close, I think is helpful. In some of the guys for the first time, some of the guys for maybe the 20th time. So it's been an interesting weather week. There were times on the last day on Thursday that it was raining so hard that it was hard to hear questions and answers, Hack.
Yeah, I saw that with the Josh Heupel press conference.
That's just something we've never experienced before. Being here, it was a little bit smoother in Atlanta. Next year's in Nashville, but I'll be honest with you, Hoover is built for this, and I don't know if it's going back to Hoover anytime soon. With the growth of the league, but still always well worth going, and glad to be a part of the week.
All right, Brent. Again, you get Brent Beard here with me on Hacker After Dark on 1010XL. You see him on First Coast News as well. The big story had a Jacksonville flavor to it. Seems like the biggest story of the week, quite frankly, came out of Kirby Smart's comments on Wednesday about his desire to move the Florida-Georgia game out of Jacksonville. I know you've been in Atlanta all week. You remain in Atlanta tonight. As you can imagine, here at home, those comments have gotten an awful lot of reaction. Your thought and the thought up in Atlanta when Kirby made those statements on Wednesday?
Well, some of this is just the question that comes up every year, is a lot of it. And to be clear, with this, look, if Georgia wants to move this game just to have it at home, I get that. But don't give me this unmitigated nonsense about how it affects their recruiting. Now, you and I both know Georgia in the last 5 years has either been 1, 2, or 3 in recruiting. So the Florida-Georgia, Georgia-Florida game has absolutely zero effect on their recruiting because the game is in Jacksonville. So just be honest with it. I know the city of Jacksonville will, I think, do everything they can to keep it, and they should. I still think it's the biggest event of the year in the city, and hopefully all of it remains there forever, frankly. And let me also be clear with this. In fairness for Billy Napier, and I sat probably 10 yards from Napier when he was making these comments, they were trying to get his comments on this. And Napier said, guys, I need to experience this first before I have any kind of real opinion on it. I get the fact that people want to play it at home, but I need to see what it's like to go through the traditions in Jacksonville before I can fairly comment on it, which I agree with totally. So there was no statement. I'm not saying there was necessarily, but he certainly did not say how he was leaning either way. So, but I mean, Hank, you and I are veterans of this. We deal with this every year, and it comes up for one reason or another, particularly when you've got new coaches and their opinion on it. But again, if you want a home game, call it that. Don't tell me it's going to hurt your recruiting by not doing it.
Yeah, and to be clear, for people that don't know, basically what Kirby Smart is saying is because it's a neutral site game, NCAA rules or SEC rules, one of the ruling boards there that oversees the game says you're not allowed to have official visitors, i.e. official recruiting visitors, there at a neutral site game. And what Kirby's saying, Brent, what he's saying is true, right? They lose a recruiting weekend once every 104 weeks. It's once every other year. It is nonsense what he said. It's very petty to me what he said. I almost wonder, because the contract is coming back up, if this is one of those type deals. Now, the one thing that does give me a little pause, Brent, every time this comes up, and it's usually the Georgia side, it's usually when they're getting their head kicked in by Florida that they talk about moving the game. Well, obviously, Georgia has been ruling that rivalry. So I think there's a little bit more legitimacy to this for whatever reason. I don't think it's a recruiting thing. But I do wonder, the big money boosters in Savannah, in Valdosta, St. Simons, and Jekyll Island, as Larry Munson used to say, those Georgia Bulldog boosters, this is their one true home game a year. To me, they're always the ones that want this game in Jacksonville. But with Kirby winning a title last year, I wonder if his voice might be a little louder than previous people who wanted this game moved from Athens.
Well, possibly, but I think you've also got, obviously, the Gator boosters who are in Jacksonville and surrounding counties who want to keep it here, too. And I think I don't want to call it the X factor, but I think the city of Jacksonville that have got the loudest say so in this, and what they want to do in order to keep the game is as important as anybody else. And again, we don't have very many of these neutral site games. OU in Texas and Dallas, and then Army Navy, wherever that's going to be, would be the other one. So, and there was a little bit of hall talk, shall we say, in Atlanta about, well, what about having it in Jacksonville one year, Athens one year, and Gainesville one year, type thing. There was a little bit of that was going on, and they may do something with it at some point. But again, it's just it really is typical. I think of the event, and sometimes, Hank, I'm gonna be honest with you, the media runs out of questions to ask, and that's kind of one they throw out there.
Yeah, and look, Kirby ran with it because Tebow asked him on the SEC Network, and then we had Kirby on 1010XL on Wednesday, and he kind of doubled down when he was talking to Matt Hayes and Frank Frangie. So we'll see what happens. It's certainly something that's got some attention here in Duval County. Brent Beard here with us. SEC Media Days in the books. Brent's still up in Atlanta. He'll return this weekend. All right, Brent, other than Kirby and Billy, and I want to get back to them from an on-the-field point of view, any other storyline or two that stuck out to you about everybody else that was in attendance there the last 4 days?
Yeah, I'll hit a few things real quick. Brian Harsin at Auburn did a really good job of hitting it off of the pass, the questions about the nonsense that he went through at Auburn with the coup, and he was able to stand up to that, and he did a really good job of dealing with as he put, the gorilla in the room, by giving his opinion of what happened, and he talked about it for a couple of minutes, said the coup did not work. In the rest of the time, he talked about his football team, and that's what he should have talked about. Frankly, for our listeners, talked a lot about Ike Hilliard on that staff who is helping them out. He's really pleased with what Hilliard may do with the wide receiver room. I think the biggest thing that to me that really never really got no coverage at all. And I want you to think about this a minute. Kentucky is probably going to be picked, and already done so, as the second best team in the East. Well, probably the best player on Kentucky's team is Chris Rodriguez, running back, besides Will Levis, who is at quarterback. Well, the problem here is there's an issue with Chris Rodriguez that no one's talking about, and we don't know what that is. And Chris Rodriguez, as you know, Hack, is a 1,000 to 1,200 yard rusher in a year. So he's probably their best offensive player, again, besides Levis. And we don't know really what's going on. And I'm sure more will come out later on, in fairness to Rodriguez, for all this to play out for whatever it is. But there really is nothing from the Kentucky media that they know about this as far as what his status is going to be on the season. So file that away somewhere, because not only does Kentucky play Georgia in November, and what may be the toughest game on their schedule, according to some, but also, as you know, they've got an absolutely critical game, the second game of the year in Gainesville with Florida. And my goodness, Hank, what if I'm not saying he won't, but let's just pretend here for a minute. If Rodriguez doesn't play in that game, then that's something no one counted on.
Yeah, and he is a dynamic player. He's been very good against Florida in years past. And, yeah, we'll have to see Kentucky, Tennessee, South Carolina, the Gators. The SEC East looks like it's coming back a little bit. And still not what the West is on paper, but it's getting there. I think the gap is narrowing. All right, Brent Beard here with us, First Coast News. You get him also here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Brent, just a few minutes left. Let's kind of dive into kind of the scuttlebutt out there, conversations you had about the pecking order in the league. We'll begin in the East. Obviously, it's Georgia and everybody else. But what was the vibe about maybe Georgia's biggest competition in the SEC East? You could probably make arguments for Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, maybe even South Carolina. Who is Georgia's biggest competitor?
Well, see, that's the real mystery of the week. And I think that tells you where the league is. There really is no real agreement on who that might be. I mean, logically, number two probably would be Kentucky because of Will Levis coming back, and they've still got a balanced, tough football team. But really, after that, I mean, I think that's absolutely up for grabs on who it might be. There's a lot of love for Tennessee right now, and I get that. Obviously, with the guys that got coming back, Kenneth Hooker and Jabari Small, and certainly Cedric Tillman. But see, the problem with Tennessee is Tennessee may score 50 points a game, but they may give up 51. So I think obviously Florida and South Carolina, I think, are your wild cards. South Carolina with Spencer Rattler, Anthony Richardson, who I thought had one of the best lines of the entire week. When the reporters asked him, and he looked really sharp, "Where'd you get your suit?" He said, "Amazon." So and I can tell you, he looks like he could be a tight end too. So I mean, and I'm sure you get the point. You're probably going through the same thing I have in trying to decide who is going to be where. But I think, I think Florida or South Carolina could be anywhere from 2 to 4 or something like that. And I think that's indicative of what you've got in the East.
All right, Brent, we got about 60 seconds to go. I love the thing that SEC Network had, their FPI, their Football Power Index, percentage chance to win the SEC. It was Alabama 49%, Georgia 47%, Kentucky was third with 0.9%.
Yeah.
And it went down from there. Mm-hmm. Translation, everybody thinks it's going to be Georgia and Alabama meeting the first Saturday in December for the SEC championship. 60 seconds. Yeah, go ahead, Brent.
Besides Ohio State, they're the two best teams in the country.
Yeah, the two best rosters, no doubt about it.
I mean, that's the bottom line, which means they've got the top 50 players.
So let me ask you this. The level of shock you would have if it's not Georgia and Alabama that first Saturday in December.
Oh, it'd be off the charts. You would have to have some major injuries on both teams in Georgia and Alabama, and some guys to get lightning in a bottle. You'd have to have some guys have a Cam Newton year in order for that to change. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. And real quick, final thought: is it good for the conference that everybody thinks the West and East have decided on July 22nd? There's not a lot of intrigue unless, like you said, something bizarre happens. I don't know if I ever remember a year where there's this little intrigue about the overwhelming favorites coming in.
Well, but it just tells you where recruiting is and elite coaching and all that goes along with it. But where I still think the intrigue is with the other 12 teams in the conference that you could put in a hat and draw them out. And whatever you've got besides probably Vanderbilt might happen.
Yeah, and by the way, speaking of Vanderbilt, we are 36 days away from the SEC opener where Vandy travels to Honolulu to take on Hawaii.
I'll give you one, and I'll give you one better than that. Florida State plays in week 0, as you know. Look, this is hard to believe, but and also the ACC meetings are going on. But FSU meets next Tuesday, and they start camp next Wednesday. Can you believe that? And because of week 0, that's what they're going to have to do.
There's no question. We are on the doorstep of college football. Brent Beard, great job up in Atlanta at SEC Media Days. Appreciate you joining us. Safe travels back home to Jacksonville, my friend. We'll talk soon.
Can't wait, bud. Take care.
This is the place Jags fans turn to every day for news, analysis, and inside stuff. 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
At Key Buick GMC, receive 0% financing up to 36 months on select GMCs, $500 off all new vehicles for all active, retired, enlisted, and previous military. Whenever you purchase a brand new vehicle from Key, whether it's a Buick or GMC, it always comes with that lifetime powertrain warranty. A full allotment is in now and available. So visit the good folks at Key Buick GMC right across the street from Tinseltown, Southside and Gate.
As a veteran, you get a lot of advice, but wisdom's harder to come by. A lot of people imagine themselves in our shoes without understanding the weight on our shoulders. The truth is, few can understand the pressure of finding your own way after serving in the military. But few isn't none. Steady yourself. You're not alone. You've got support. Learn more at maketheconnection.net.
Ernie Johnson and Charles Barkley welcoming you back to Susan's Cubicle here in Accounts Payable. What an afternoon of non-stop bookkeeping action, Charles. Are you kidding me? She set herself a reminder to get out of that chair and move.
That's a smart use of a timeout.
She's still reading her emails while getting her heart rate up and moving her muscles. Healthy habits could lower your risk of cancer.
That's a crazy move.
Stand Up to Cancer and Optum want to help you reduce your risk for cancer. Visit takeahealthystand.org.
WJXL AM and FM, Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. 1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
If you'd like to work part-time for the Jumbo Shrimp, attend their hiring event at 1-to-1 Financial Ballpark, Wednesday, July 27th. From 4 to 7.
The learning experience in Nocatee is raising funds for the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and the Jacksonville Sharks will donate $5 for every ticket sold. Learn more at jacksharks.com.
The Creeks Athletic Association in St. Johns County offers a variety of sports for children 5 to 18. Learn how to get your child involved at caaleague.org.
You can play in the golf tournament benefiting the Derek Hatcher Foundation, combating the disease of addiction, August 13th at Eagle Landing Golf Club. Register at derekhatcherfoundation.org.
Builders Care is looking for volunteers, and there are so many ways you can help. Find out how at builderscare.org.
If you're involved in a community event and you'd like us to help spread the word, find out how at 1010XL.com.
Tacos and sports go hand in hand, literally. You can watch the game with a taco in each hand or with a taco in one hand and a tennis racket in the other. Don here from Taco Lou in Jack's Beach. I love sports, and since you're listening to this station, you love sports as well. If you love sports and tacos, then Taco Lou is calling your name. You can watch the game here